Hello everyone, welcome to Draw My Life. My name is Sabrina Cheng, or some of my Chinese friends call me Cheng Wei. I think my life story is pretty interesting so far, especially because I was born in the era of China's one-child policy. I also find that this has had a large impact on my life choices and who I am today, so sit back, relax, and enjoy. I was born in the outskirts of the wonderful city of Beijing, China in 1981. A year after the one-child policy began. When I was younger, I was pretty lonely living by myself. Really, all I had to play with were my friends at school. However, during that time, I was also living very well. I went to a good school, we lived in a nice house, and I had all of my necessities accounted for. I was also the little princess of my family and got pretty much anything I wanted. Some could say my family spoiled me during that time, as I was an only child. However, this didn't last long because when my parents had another child, they were heavily fined. We lost our health care and I couldn't go to school for a few years. While my mother was pregnant, some of my parents' family suggested that they abort my brother to avoid the fine, but they immediately took this out of their options. For a long while, we were basically broke. My parents worked in factories that produced this clothing, and before they had my brother, they stayed at work until the evening. But after my brother was born, they began to stay and come home late at night. On a happier note, my little baby brother was born. His name is Dawei, and his English name is David. He was born when I was 3 years old. Little cute David will always be my baby brother. When he was born, we didn't necessarily live in poverty because we had my grandparents working alongside my mother and father. While they were away, life was pretty hard. I had to take care of my brother all day. I never saw my parents as they were at work all day and night. Though they had to go through all of these intense hardships, they said they never and will never regret having David. This life went on until I was 7, when my grandmother grew ill and she had to stay at home. This meant I went to work with my grandpa and my parents, while my grandmother stayed at home to take care of my brother. Though I only worked in the factories for about a year, I got an idea of how hard work was and how big an effect the fine had on my family. However, we managed to earn enough money to afford my brothers and my schooling. My father applied for a new job. Though he did work in the factories, he was educated well enough to get a job in the city. After he worked there for about 2 years, we finally moved to the big city. I had to be sent back a few years in school, and I was 9 years old even though I was 12. I was teased for this and often being called stupid. In addition to this, I was also teased for being a girl. People can be so cruel sometimes. I can say that this was a pretty rough time for me, as there was only a small amount of females in my school. Unfortunately, gender imbalance was only one of the many social issues that came into the one-child policy. But I powered through it. Through life went on like this all throughout middle school and high school. This life went on for a long while until I was ready to go to college. My brother was already looking into jobs in school, as he was the one who was expected to support my parents. However, I was still lucky enough to be sent to college as well. After my 4 years of university, I was finally released into the adult world. But then I saw a major problem, finding a job. Finding a job was extremely difficult for me, as I was a female in China. People didn't look for women workers at the time back then, and they don't today either. Just another issue that came with the one-child policy. Women were and are looked down upon in China. So I just stayed with my parents at home for a year or so, applying for jobs as often as I could. Eventually, my father recommended me to his friend, who is in a high-ranking position of the Bank of China's Beijing branch. He saw my college degree and immediately hired me as a full-time worker in the finance department of the business. There are no women workers in my department, which is understandable, considering it took me 1 year to acquire a job. Working there has provided me a wonderful past 8 years. I am very fortunate to have a father with so many connections. As for now in China, things have changed. In October of 2015, the one-child policy was abolished, allowing Chinese citizens to have 2 children. David had his first child 2 years ago, and he recently announced the coming of his second child. Needless to say, he is very happy. As for me, I'll stay a strong, single woman for at least the next few years. I chose not to conform to China's general views on women, and plus, life is quite good for me without a husband at the moment. I have a great job, a great family, and a fantastic life ahead of me. I will not contribute to stereotypes of women in China because I don't have to or want to. But right now, I have my life cut out for me. I'm living a fantastic life, and I cannot wait to see what's next. Thanks for watching.